in a world forged by endless conflict and the ceaseless passage of time, the name Madara Uchiha echoes as both a legend and a lament. This is the story of a man born into war, whose heart carried both the fire of ambition and the sorrow of loss, whose journey from youthful hope to hardened resolve would shape the fate of entire clans and alter the course of history. Tonight, allow yourself to be carried away by the long and winding tale of Madara Uchiha, a tale of friendship, rivalry, love, loss, and an unyielding desire to create a lasting peace in a world that knew only pain. Madara was born into the mighty Uchiha clan during an age when war was as common as the rising sun. Even as a child, he displayed an intensity and power beyond his years. He grew up in a time when the clamor of battle was a constant backdrop, and the only language understood was that of strength and survival. Alongside his younger brother, Izuna, Madara was raised amidst the chaos of endless conflict. The two brothers trained together and competed with each other, each striving to surpass the other. In those early days, their rivalry was not born of hatred, but of a shared desire to protect their clan and to become the very embodiment of power. In the quiet moments between battles, when the world seemed to pause in a rare moment of stillness, Madara and Izuna would steal away to practice and dream. They imagined a future where children would not be forced to bear arms, where the bloodshed that stained the fields would one day give way to a peace as gentle as the morning dew. Yet even in those fleeting moments of hope, the harsh realities of their world crept in, reminding them that dreams were as fragile as glass in a storm. It was during his childhood that fate brought Madara to a riverbank, where he encountered a young boy named Hashirama Senju. In that simple setting, with the river murmuring softly by their side, Madara and Hashirama found in each other a kindred spirit. Despite belonging to rival clans, Uchiha and Senju, the two young warriors spoke freely of their dreams. They envisioned a world where the endless cycle of warfare would cease, where both clans could live together in harmony. For a precious moment, the lines that divided their worlds blurred, and the promise of a united future shone brightly in their eyes. As the years passed, the bond between Madara and Hashirama grew even as the world around them grew darker. The gentle dreams they once shared became a secret refuge from the relentless tides of war. In their hearts, both young warriors clung to the idea of a peaceful sanctuary, a place where the scars of battle might one day heal, and where the laughter of children could rise above the cries of conflict. Yet even as their friendship blossomed, the weight of their responsibilities as members of warring clans pressed heavily upon them. The ideals of peace and unity, so delicately nurtured, were threatened by the ancient grudges and inevitable betrayals of their bloodlines. For Madara, the awakening of his legendary Sharingan marked both a great triumph and a terrible burden. This mystical gift, passed down through the generations of the Uchiha, allowed him to see the world in a way that few could comprehend. Its power was immense, and yet every use exacted a silent toll, a slow, creeping darkness that threatened to consume his very vision. With each passing day, as Madara honed his skills on the field of battle, he began to understand that great power often came with equally great pain. The days of youthful hope gradually gave way to the bitter realization that the dream of peace was a luxury that might never be attained. The wounds of his past, especially the loss of his beloved brother Izuna, cut deeper than any blade. In the tragic aftermath of Izuna's death, a loss that would forever haunt his soul, Madara found himself drifting between the memories of an innocent past and the cold, relentless present. In a desperate bid to stave off the curse that the Sharingan threatened to impose on him, Madara made a choice that would alter his destiny forever. He accepted the sacrifice of his brother's eyes, a desperate measure that granted him the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, a power that promised to overcome the curse of blindness and yet deepened his inner isolation. It was during this time of profound loss and transformation that the seeds of rivalry took deeper root. The once bright dreams shared with Hashirama began to fracture under the pressure of clan loyalties and the bitter taste of betrayal. As the two young warriors grew into powerful leaders in their own right, their visions for a peaceful future began to diverge. Hashirama's gentle, accepting nature clashed with Madara's increasingly hardened resolve. Even as they joined forces to found the Hidden Leaf Village, a bold attempt to unite the feuding clans, the underlying tensions remained. The founding of Konoha was a moment of both triumph and tragedy. In that new village, Madara saw the possibility of a united world, a sanctuary where the cycles of hatred might finally come to an end. But the reality of political power soon set in. The village's leadership, influenced by the traditions and biases of the Senju, gradually began to sideline the Uchiha. Although Hashirama had once seen Madara as a partner in this great endeavor, the shifting dynamics and growing mistrust began to erode the fragile bond they had once shared. Madara, wounded by the rejection of his own people, felt the sting of isolation and the cold certainty that his dreams were slipping away. In the solitude of exile, away from the hopeful cries of Konoha, Madara turned inward and into the forbidden arts, determined to reclaim his lost honor and to ensure that his clan would never again be oppressed. He began to study the ancient secrets of the shinobi world. He pored over forgotten texts and delved into the mysteries of chakra manipulation, seeking to master powers that transcended mortal limits. In these long, silent nights, his eyes, glowing with the eternal light of the Mangekyo Sharingan, watched the stars and contemplated a destiny that lay far beyond the petty struggles of the present. Slowly, Madara's thoughts turned to a radical solution, a plan so audacious that it would shake the very foundations of reality. He envisioned a world free from the endless cycle of pain, a world where every living being could exist in a state of eternal peace, This dream, dark and all-encompassing, was to be achieved through the Infinite Tsukuyomi, a genjutsu so vast and all-encompassing that it would trap the entire world in a perpetual illusion. In that eternal dream, the suffering of reality would be washed away, replaced by a serene landscape where the burdens of loss and war would vanish like mist at dawn. But such a grand vision came at a steep cost. To bring his plan to fruition, Madara knew that he must harness powers that even the gods might envy. He began to gather the scattered fragments of ancient lore and to experiment with techniques that merged the legacy of the Uchiha with the forbidden arts of the sage. Through relentless training and countless battles, he evolved his abilities. His Sharingan deepened. His Mangekyo Sharingan grew ever more potent. And in the twilight of his life, he even awakened the Rinnegan, a power that seemed to pulse with the very essence of creation itself. In the quiet solitude of his self-imposed exile, Madara's transformation was both physical and spiritual. Each day brought him closer to a state of almost supernatural existence. His body, though scarred by countless battles and etched with the pain of loss, began to radiate an aura of otherworldly power. Yet, even as he reached these heights, a part of him could not forget the simple dreams of his youth. A time when he and Hashirama had believed that peace might someday be possible without the need for endless conflict. It was during these long, introspective nights that Madara turned his gaze to a broken soul in need. A young Uchiha named Obito. Gravely injured and teetering on the edge of death, Obito became the unwitting heir to Madara's dark legacy. With patient resolve, Madara nurtured the young warrior, guiding him through the labyrinth of pain and loss that had shaped his own destiny. Obito, in turn, became both a protege and a vessel for Madara's vision, a willing pawn in a game whose stakes were nothing less than the fate of the entire world. As the years turned, the wheels of fate began to spin toward an inevitable climax. Madara's meticulous planning and secret experiments bore fruit, and his dark vision of the Infinite Tsukuyomi slowly took shape. He set in motion a series of events that would culminate in the gathering of unimaginable power, the revival of the Ten Tails, a force of nature so vast that even the boundaries of mortal comprehension would shatter in its wake. With Obito at his side, Madara orchestrated the revival of this ancient behemoth, believing that by harnessing its boundless chakra, he could cast his ultimate genjutsu upon the world. In the midst of chaos and bloodshed, as the fourth great ninja war raged and the world trembled before the might of those who sought to reshape it, Madara finally emerged from the shadows. His presence was like a dark tide rising to engulf everything in its path, a silent, inexorable force that swept aside all who dared oppose him. With every measured step, he displayed the full extent of his power. His eyes, shimmering with the combined light of the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and the Rinnegan, revealed a depth of vision that saw not only the present, but the infinite possibilities of a dream world. Yet even as his grand plan neared completion, a quiet, persistent sorrow lingered in Madara's heart. In the solitude of his final days, when the clamor of battle had faded into a distant echo, he could not help but recall the gentle moments of his youth, the laughter shared by a riverbank, the simple promise of peace whispered in the quiet twilight. These memories, tender and bittersweet, softened the edge of his resolve and cast a long shadow over his unyielding ambition. In the final chapters of his storied life, as the Infinite Tsukuyomi began to spread its silken web across the land, Madara faced the ultimate confrontation. A battle not fought with weapons or techniques, but with the weight of regret and the slow, inexorable pull of fate. In a moment that transcended both victory and defeat, he came face to face with the legacy of his lost friend, Hashirama. Though the confrontation was shrouded in silence and the exchange was measured and soft-spoken, its significance was as profound as the turning of the seasons. In that brief, delicate moment, Madara admitted to himself the true cost of his ambition, that the dream he had pursued so relentlessly was built upon the ruins of a friendship he could never reclaim. As the world around him slipped into an endless dream, Madara's voice, measured and heavy with the weight of centuries, whispered his final thoughts. He spoke not as a conqueror, but as a man who had known both the bright promise of hope and the crushing despair of loss. His words, gentle and laced with remorse, told of a world where the endless cycle of hatred might one day be broken, not through force or illusion, but through the tender, if painful, acceptance of life's impermanence. In his last moments, Madara's heart softened, and he realized that his journey, for all its darkness and ambition, had been a search for something as elusive as peace. A peace that could only be found in the quiet reconciliation of the past and the present. The Infinite Tsukuyomi, his grand illusion, was not the answer to the suffering of the world, but a mirror reflecting the deep-seated wounds of a time when even heroes and villains were bound by the same sorrowful fate. Now, as you listen to this long and winding story, allow yourself to drift into a gentle reverie. Imagine the soft murmur of a distant river, the quiet rustle of leaves in a forgotten forest, and the fading echo of ancient dreams. The tale of Madara Uchiha, with all its triumphs and heartaches, is not just the story of a legendary warrior. It is a meditation on the fragile nature of hope, the bitter cost of ambition, and the enduring power of memory. As the night deepens and your thoughts begin to slow, let the gentle cadence of Madara's journey soothe you. Remember that even the darkest of paths can lead to moments of quiet understanding, and that in every ending there lies the promise of a new beginning, a chance to dream, to forgive, and to imagine a world where, beneath the layers of sorrow and regret, a spark of gentle light still flickers. And so, the story of Madara Uchiha comes to a close, a story etched in the annals of history, a legend whispered by the winds of time. As you surrender to sleep, carry with you the soft echo of his tale, and may your dreams be filled with the promise of peace, however distant it may seem. Good night, and may you find in your slumber the quiet solace that even the mightiest of warriors once sought.